Hello and welcome to another episode of Scott Reads Comics. Today we're going to discuss artist Bill Sienkiewicz's perhaps most underappreciated work, his adaptation of David Lynch's Dune film, which released around December 1984. These issues were released in early 1986. They have a pub date of April, May, and June, but this would have come out probably January of 85. I think I might have said 86, but it's actually 85. So the actual Dune movie released December of 84. The Marvel official comics adaptation of the spectacular new film, according to the title credits here, the cover blurb, came out just weeks after that, the first issue, and then the 2 months following. It's a 3-issue adaptation of the film into comic form. And I hear a lot of plaudits, a lot of talk about the genius of Bill Sienkiewicz, and indeed he was and still is a genius. But not a lot of folks talk about this Dune comic, and I think it's one of the coolest things he's ever done. There was, I believe, also a Marvel Super Special, which had all 3 of these in one in magazine size with probably Baxter paper. But I have the newsstand releases with the lovely Mando paper. So we're going to just go through them, talk about a few things that I love about them, mention maybe a few things that are missing, although no comic adaptation of a movie that's limited in scope as this, 3 issues can cover everything, especially in a movie as loaded as David Lynch's Dune was. And by the way, R.I.P. David Lynch recently passed away as of the recording of this video on February 1st, 2025. Lynch passed away in January. So rest in peace, David Lynch, a genius, a titan of film. So let's go ahead and dive in. Interestingly, here we have a neat corner box design for this series. Also looks like it could be Sienkiewicz's figure work. But look at this gorgeous painted cover, just amazing. And these are really nice copies I obtained from eBay. These are not easy to find. I have never seen an issue of Dune in a dollar bin. So the next time I do will be the first time. This was adapted by Ralph Macchio, scripter, Bill Sienkiewicz, artist, Joe Rosen, letterer, Michael Higgins, colorist, and boy, is Michael Higgins' color in this great. Bob Budiansky, editor, Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief, and we can see Bill Sienkiewicz's unique signature here on the splash page as we see Arrakis with its 2 moons. Really cool. And it's funny, it's obvious to me because I have watched the Lynch Dune, both his director's cut and the official release. I've watched them a dozen times maybe. And this follows the structure very closely. So these creators must have had access to early cuts of the film. Obviously, they had plenty of stills to work with, so they could get the costuming and characters right. And man, Bill Sienkiewicz nails every character. Princess Ariel on here, she looks just like the actress, and it's going to be that way throughout here. There are very few instances here where things don't match what we get in the final product of Lynch's film. Just really great storytelling and structure to this. And I'll have to remind myself again. Yeah, Ralph Macchio, a writer who I like quite a bit. He was Mark Grunwald's writing partner in the Project Pegasus saga. He's just a great writer and editor from Marvel's Bronze Age, and he knew what to do. He knew how to be a pro, and look at this. It's just tremendous. Tremendous stuff. Now, if you're wondering, Bill Sienkiewicz was also doing his epic run, his 10-issue run on New Mutants. It was like probably a 12-issue one. It was issue 18 through issue 31. So it was, I think, a 13-issue run. Yeah, as of this issue, New Mutants 26 was also on the stands. So you kind of give you a little idea of where Sienkiewicz was. He was doing 2 books a month, really, if you think about it, which is amazing. And this is pencils and inks. And it's awesome. Look at this Guild Navigator. Just nailed it. Perfect to what we see in the movie. The Emperor Shaddam IV looks spot on. His Truthsayer, she is also spot on. And we're just going to see that throughout. And of course, beautifully captures Paul Atreides, played by a young Kyle MacLachlan, probably in his early 20s, playing a little younger. I would say he might have been in his mid-20s when this came out, and he was playing a character who was supposed to be a little bit younger. Here's my first minor quibble about the visuals. The shields here are much more pedestrian than what we got to see in the actual Lynch film, which used these weird amber animations that went over the characters. It was very blocky and strange, but I kind of liked it. For the special effects of the day, I thought it was kind of cool. These are much tamer, more pedestrian. They do get the job done, though. They are communicating the idea of an energy shield. And this, of course, doesn't go down as exactly as it was in the book or the movie. I've also read the book several times. Like, one of my favorite lines uttered by Gurney Halleck, who is Patrick Stewart, basically, played by Patrick Stewart, and you can see that likeness here, is, "You would have joined me in death." Here he just says, "If you'd fought one whit below your abilities, I'd have scratched you a good one." But in the scene in the movie and in the book, he says, "Look down, you would have joined me in death." So there's little lines like that are missing, that some of my favorites that are kind of a little irksome. But again, this is a genius adaptation, and I love it. Great a likeness here for Hawad, and then they have the training module, the weirding module with the trainer. Armatures from the spinning fighter robot slice and lash out with a speed more than matched by its opponent. Paul's voice activates the weirding module, and he emits a strange, powerful sound with the awesome result. Now, these weirding modules in this comic and in the Lynch movie are really important to the plot of the film. They ultimately give the Harkonnens, or not the Harkonnens, the Fremen, a huge military advantage on the ground against their Harkonnen foes in the Sardaukar at the end. This is totally made up, these by Lynch. These weirding modules are not in the book. They just aren't. Now, the Atreides do use esoteric fighting techniques adapted from the Bene Gesserit sisterhood, I think, to give themselves an edge in combat. But that is not this. This is something complete. This is definitely a Lynch affectation he placed upon the script. And it's cool. It's certainly weird. And again, it's real awesome. Look at this here, this incredible translation of Paul's dream in this lower panel here. You know, we see this Arrakis, Dune, desert planet. Arrakis, desert planet, moving. Tell me of your homeworld, Usul. So that when we get, that's our first shot of Sean Young, the Chain 8 character, and we're going to be seeing her in probably more, definitely more in the next issue. But the artistry on display here is phenomenal. And Sienkiewicz's ability to bring multiple worlds to life. Caladan, Arrakis, Giedi Prime. Here we're on Giedi Prime. And we can see the absolutely corpulent, vile Baron Harkonnen, who is every inch the villain. And here, that bizarre scene in the movie early on, where we definitely, Lynch shows us just what a vile individual he is. It's explained a little more here. But incredibly graphic still. Just a strange scene. Here we get to see the Navigator folding space using the spice. And there are some abrupt shifts too, just to facilitate the story and the page count. Their arrival on Arrakis is kind of truncated. Here we see Dr. Yueh, who's going to be the traitor, if you know the story. Sorry, there's going to be tons of spoilers in this if you've never read Dune. Yeah, my apologies. But here we see Dr. Yueh is agonizing over the fact that he's going to betray them all. He's hiding something. Yet there's the diamond-shaped tattoo, symbol of imperial conditioning, assurance of trust. But obviously, the Harkonnens have broken through that conditioning and cajoled him into betraying his Atreides masters. And we never get to see the shutout Mapes in this one either, which is the Fremen housekeeper, played so beautifully by, oh gosh, I can't remember. She was also in The Year of Living Dangerously. But anyway, Linda something or other. She's not seen. This character just missed out, which is sad because I would have loved to see her actions. Also, too, the incredible scene where they try to take Paul's life with a hunter-killer is missed. They just leave it out. It's left on the cutting room floor because they don't have room. We go right to the scene with Kynes where they go in the ornithopter out into the wider desert to see spice production in action. And sorry for the sirens, folks. That's 24 engine and truck going out on a run somewhere. Back to our story. That's it. Spice mining. No other cloud quite like it. There they are, the telltale sand waves. It's definitely the worm sign. So the worm comes. The carryall never comes to reclaim the harvester, and so we get that great scene where the miners are rescued by the Atreides royal family in their ornithopter, and then you can see them here just escaping the worm. What an incredible final page. We get our first real shot of a worm in action. It's total destructive fury. Really cool. So let's fly along here to issue number 2. And every one of these issues, all 3 of them have a banger of a cover. Just totally great work here with sort of one character down and a central character in the foreground. And this is part 2. Same exact creative team. Incredible. We get a sort of a splash page, but with an inset panel at the top of it. And so they get back from rescuing the crew. Of course, the whole dinner, which is in the novel, which has a lot of politics stuff in it, is left out in Lynch's movie, and it's left out in the comic as well. It would be cool to see a modern comic adaptation of the Dune movies. I think you know what? I have one. I actually have one. It's funny. I have one that has the Timothée Chalamet. I have the first part of it, and it would be fun to compare these two. Sometimes when you own as many comics as I do, you forget what you have in the moment. So we meet Duncan Idaho, and then right after meeting Duncan Idaho, the betrayal occurs. It's just everything. The action is very truncated. He doesn't find the shutout Mapes murdered or dying because she was knifed by Yui. None of that's in there. That's all left out. And he's just darted and drugged by Yui. And then the tooth is installed, the poison tooth. And again, masterful storytelling from Sienkiewicz. I wonder if he was working from like a shot sheet or some kind of breakdown of the action, because it really is very cool, a close depiction. Of course, we don't get to see the absolutely iconic scene of Patrick Stewart carrying the pug under one arm and his blaster in the other, rushing forward with the Fremen as they are with the Atreides house troops as they're slain. But we do get a nice montage of the aftermath of this terrible defeat at the hands of the Harkonnens and the Sardaukar, secretly supplied by the Emperor, because it's all a conspiracy against the Atreides. And look at this full page of Baron Harkonnen gloating over Jessica, who in the novel is actually his daughter. It's never really revealed in the movie or, of course, in this adaptation. And here is, unfortunately, the death of Duncan Idaho at the hands of the Sardaukar. Cack. No, Duncan, don't be dead, don't be dead. So young Paul traumatized by this. And here we have Peter de Vries killing Yui before he can get his wish to see his wife. The Harkonnens killed her long ago. And so they're going to do away with Kynes as well. There he is, the unfortunate Kynes. And he, I think, pretty much dies off panel. They tear his still suit open and throw him in the desert. And that was the plan for Paul and his mother, to be left in the desert. But, of course, Paul using the voice. And it's interesting how they depict that with the word balloons, how our letterer, Joe Rosen. See, now, I don't know. If I was the editor, I probably would have told Joe Rosen, yeah, these are not telepathic balloons. They're actually talking. So use some other kind of dialogue balloon to show that, because the voice is not telepathy. It's actual verbal, audible suggestion. Again, a minor quibble. Overwhelmed by the greatness of what we're seeing on the page here. Oh, love that. Even in this experiment, now this, Bill Sienkiewicz is years past his Moon Knight work, where he was basically, and his Fantastic Four work as well, where he was basically like sort of a Neil Adams disciple. Here we're into this experimental phase where he's doing these panel layouts, and he's spotting a lot of blacks, and he's just doing a lot of unconventional things, and in this case, pencils and inks. But he can still draw action. He's an incredible artist, and we see that here. Oh, this is amazing too. Here we get to see the attempted assassination of the Baron at the hands of the soon-to-be dead Leto Atreides. And he bites down on the poison tooth, which Yui had put in his mouth for just this reason, and ends up killing the vile Peter de Vries, who was played wonderfully by Brad Dourif, I think, in the Lynch movie, a young Brad Dourif. Poison. It was poison meant to kill me, but he failed. Even in death, the fool failed. I'm alive. I'm alive. So we see him raving that he's survived. And both the psychic Paul and his mom, who's also basically a psychic, they know the instant Leto is dead. And great shot with this white background, except for the two blue moons of the planet here of Arrakis. And Paul has, at this moment, a waking dream where he gets hints of what's going on, both in post-cognition, stuff that's already happened, and then precognitively here with the final battle with Fade, which will occur in issue 3. So it's a neat way of Sienkiewicz showing this. And I couldn't think of another artist who could have done this project. Another Marvel artist in that moment, in that era, who is better matched to adapt a David Lynch film than Bill Sienkiewicz. It's just a perfect marriage of kindred artists' spirits. And here we see Paul, with his heightened awareness, knows that his mother is pregnant. And he's holding this signet ring. This is an incredible sequence here. The sleeper must awaken. And that is such a great line, and we will see it multiple times moving forward. He confronts his mother. He's pretty angry about everything. He knows his destiny is set out for him, but he's still kind of fighting against it a little bit. You and your Bene Gesserit sisterhood. I'm not your Kwisatz Haderach. I'm something different, something unexpected. I am so much more. You don't begin to know me. I'm a seed. Father, now I have become a killer, and I will continue to kill until I've avenged your death. Father. So they try to get across the desert, and they almost run afoul of a worm. They take refuge in this mountain range, and they meet, finally, the Fremen. But sadly, I would have loved to see this adapted. Paul doesn't end up fighting Jameis and showing his potential. They originally threaten Jessica, his mom, but she shows her weirding abilities and overcomes Stilgar, their leader. And here we have the fateful first meeting of Paul and Chani. But from behind, I am Cheney, daughter of Kynes. I would not have permitted you to harm my tribe. Come with me, I'll show you an easier way down. Then tell me of your homeworld, Usul. The girl from my dream, so beautiful, so Kynes was more than merely an imperial servant. He was a Fremen as well. And I should point out again, the whole point of this video really is to rave about how awesome Bill Sienkiewicz is with just a few lines. And of course, we have to compliment Bob Sharon's colors as well. He brilliantly rendered, that is Sean Young, almost as if it's done from a photo. And maybe it is. Maybe Sienkiewicz is working from stills here, from photographic stills, because it is uncannily Sean Young. There's no way it could be anyone else. It's just such an incredible rendered likeness of her. And I gotta suspect that the Sienkiewicz was probably, with his workload, pulling out all the tricks for this to get this thing done, and in the quality he's done it. So pretty awesome. They go into the whole ceremony where Jessica will become the Reverend Mother of this particular Fremen tribe, and she drinks the water of life. And I got to point this out. This is one of the coolest panels in the 3 issues. One of the coolest panels I've ever seen Bill Sienkiewicz draw, really. Jessica drinks this incredibly powerful, hallucinogenic, mutagenic fluid that's rendered from the bile of a juvenile worm who is immersed in water, which kills it, and its death throes, it emits this bile. And so it's this powerful chemical, and she has a fetus growing inside of her. She is pregnant. Jessica drinks, and she sees, and as she does, convulses, an action imitated by Reverend Mother Ramallo, who now shares the ritual. Her hand reaches for Jessica and seems to pass right through the flesh. It probes deeply, and something within Jessica begins to glow. It is a fetus, female. The Reverend Mother's hand flinches as she becomes aware of the unborn child. And that will be Aaliyah, Paul's younger sister, who in an act of love prior to his death, Leto and Jessica conceived her right before they went to, they made the trip to Arrakis. So she's pretty far along, but not really showing. And she's probably still in the first trimester, but formative enough that Aaliyah is just fundamentally transformed by this whole process. And again, beautifully rendered by Sienkiewicz. The whole ritual too, how she purifies it so all the men can drink it, because the whole thing with this ritual, if you remember Dune, is men who try this ritual, they just die. They can't handle it. They can't transform the fluid, the poisonous fluid, into something that will make them expand their consciousness and move them forward. They just die. But that's the whole point. Paul knows at some point he's going to have to undergo this ritual. Superb likeness of Sting here for Fade, really cool. And Thufir, and I forget the actor who played Thufir. And here Aaliyah is born, and she already has the blue within blue eyes of the Fremen that you get from spice exposure. And so here we have a sequence where Paul is teaching the weirding way to the Fremen. These formidable fighters are now learning these esoteric combat techniques that are going to make them unbeatable, essentially. And we see now Paul has the blue within blue eyes. Sound as a weapon. If only you could see them, Father. When the spice flow stops, the entire universe will turn its eyes to Arrakis. The Baron and the Emperor himself will be forced to deal with us. In the cause of Muad'Dib, forward, death to the Harkonnens. So that becomes, Muad'Dib becomes his Fremen name. So next issue is going to be All Out War. That's our last issue. And this is a curious issue because I found these are in really nice shape, super happy, obviously positive feedback to the seller. But this issue only has one staple on the bottom. There's no top staple. I have never in my life bought a comic that had only one staple. Very weird. Look at this splash page. Again, we're used to it at this point. Sienkiewicz is just really going for it here. Same team again, except Pat DeFalco is the colorist. Let me just quickly check. Yeah, so Michael Higgins was the colorist on the first two issues, and Pat DeFalco is the colorist on the last issue. So I might have wrongly credited Bob Sharon as the colorist earlier in the video, and if so, I apologize. So Raban, one of the two nephews of Baron Harkonnen, has been in charge of Arrakis since they took it back from the Atreides, and Paul, as now a Fremen war leader, is basically dismantling the entire spice production on Arrakis, which he knows will grind the universe to a halt because the universe and space travel is reliant on the spice, and it's only available on Arrakis. Here we have his first fateful attempt to ride a worm, and he calls a gigantic worm to do it, and he does it, and we are treated to this incredible page with these two panels, and this large panel is really awesome. There's a minimalism here, a spareness to some of these pages, to these panels, that actually enhances what we're looking at. It's just incredible. Sienkiewicz is so confident and so capable at this point that sometimes the details he leaves out actually inform the details that he puts in. Russell has called a big one. Again, it is the legend. So he is a Christ-like figure. He is a savior to these desert people. And he fights that destiny early on, and then he embraces it. And of course, Raban is beside himself because he can't stop it. And here we get the awesome reunion with Gurney and Paul as the Fremen encounter some pirates that Gurney has joined, and so he gets to come back into the fold, which is great. And so now, fatefully, and again, look at that likeness of Chaney there, Sean Young. Just really awesome. Paul drinks the water of life. He's gonna do the ceremony. Hurry. All I see is darkness. Let the ritual commence. Paul, I will love you forever, in life or in death. Let Shah Halud judge now. You are my life. So can Paul transform the water? And we're going to get an extended sequence of just brilliant Sienkiewicz artwork. Here we have Aaliyah and Jessica realizing what's going on. The Emperor's truthsayer, she knows as well. She's a powerful psychic as well. And then in Paul's mind, he learns everything. He gets an incredible awareness from doing this as he's going through this transformative process. And we can see at the end of it, that line again, the sleeper has awakened. The ritual is at an end. The sandworms slip back into the endless desert and are gone. So there is his name, Wadib. They're chanting it. And I love the way Colin McLaughlin delivered this line in the movie. Long live the fighters! Father, our time has come. And of course, Fedaykin, as his personal honor guard, is called they're called the Fedaykin, I believe is how it's pronounced. That's like his honor guard or his bodyguard. They're like some of the best trained. And now, so the Emperor has come to Arrakis because spice production is stopped and he wants to fix it. He can see he's going to lose the Landsraad, which is all the other royal houses that make up the universal empire that he rules. If he loses them, he'll lose his hold on power. And we can see, sadly, or not so sadly, since he was a pig, Raban's head is here at his feet. I have already dealt with your inept nephew. And then suddenly, again, we have a truncation of action here to facilitate the medium of the comic book. Aaliyah just shows up among them, and the emperor realizes, Paul's sister? Paul is Muad'Dib? So they use the Atreides atomics. Explosions of unimaginable intensity are set off, cutting a huge gorge through the width of the massive shield wall. Much of Arrakeen is destroyed, the rest covered by tons of sand whipped in by the howling storm wind. So Arrakeen was the capital city of Arrakis. It's the seat of power, and they are assaulting it now because the Emperor is there, the Baron's there, the Landsraad is watching from space. All eyes on them, including the Guild. And here, Harkonnen gets what's coming to him as Aaliyah uses the Gom Jabbar to poison him. And he goes careening out and eventually is going to wind up in the maw of a worm. No, I can't stop. Headed directly into the mouth of that beast. Can't stop. No. So he would have been dead anyway, but he dies an even more horrible death, eaten by a worm, which is fitting of one so awful as him. So here, Paul Muad'Dib, leader of the Fremen, savior of the planet and the universe, comes and confronts the Emperor. But first, there's a little minor drama to be played out. Thufir, who was taken by the Harkonnens and made to serve them, is asked to stab and kill Paul, who's of course aware of it and lets everything sort of play out around him because he knows what's going to happen. Did you think for a moment I would fail my Duke twice? Your signet, my lord. 3 generations of you. Take the noble Atreides warrior away and do him all honor. Emperor Shaddam IV, there are guild highlanders above us containing many great houses of the Landsraad. Send them away. How dare you speak to me? Silence. Here are the guild navigators watching. And again, these are very good likenesses of the creepy, weird guild dudes who appear in the live action movie. So Lynch, the costumes, everything. And Paul casts his mind above the planet and finds the navigator and lets him know what's going on. He also warns the woman, the Emperor's truthsayer, who I think I might have glossed over that scene, which is one of the best scenes from issue 1 where he is tested by her. And let me find that. Yeah, right here. This is a great scene from issue 1. I must have no fear. Fear is the mind killer. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And then the rest of it is when it is passed, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. They don't only have that in there. I just remember, that's just something I remember from reading the book so many times. But this is a fantastic sequence between them as she tests him. She is the master. He is the student. And now, in this final issue, he has gained ascendancy over her and just basically sends her away with a command. I can kill with a word. Silence. Really just tremendous artwork here. I mean, the whole thing is just so fun and cool and perfect as an adaptation. And then we get the inevitable fight, which this fight was, it's fun. It obviously has an important role in the novel and in the movies and every adaptation. But you know how it's going to end. There's no way Paul is going to let Fade beat him. And every time I've seen this fight staged or read about it or read it in this adaptation here, it's cool. It does serve a purpose in that Paul demonstrates his mastery of the situation. And at the end, too, we'll see. After he runs Fade through, he uses his killing voice to shatter his body. Usu no longer needs the weirding module. Now I will tell you how it will be. Your daughter, Princess Urulon, shall be my wife. opening the way for an Atreides to take the throne. I sit on the throne. You will sit on a throne on Salusa Secundus, your prison planet, or you will die. Cheney, the princess shall have no more of me than my name, no child of mine, or touch of softness, of glance, nor instant of desire. That is my promise to you, my love. Think on it, Cheney. We who carry the name of concubine, history will call us wives. So this is pretty much the denouement now, because they have got their way, and Paul, befitting his role as a savior, causes it to rain on a planet that has never seen rain. Suddenly, a downpour of rain, life-giving, life-sustaining rain, falls on Arrakis, on Dune. And gathered beyond the place, the palace walls, the jubilant Fremen raise their voices as one in triumph. Truly, at long last, the prophecy is fulfilled. The sleeper has awakened. So, an incredible closing sequence there of an incredible 3-issue adaptation of a Lynch movie that was not well received, but that over the years I think has garnered more credit, more acclaim. I think it's great. Which version of Dune as a movie do I prefer? Honestly, if I had to pick between the three, I would pick the Sci-Fi Channel version, because I think it best depicts what happens in the book, even though they had probably the least resources of the three. I love all three, though, and I love this comic adaptation, and I hope you did too. If you did, please like and subscribe. Tell your friends. I'll bring you more soon on Scott Reads Comics. Thanks for watching.